Okay. So I would like to welcome everyone again to Wasteless World Talks with Bill. And we have to apologize, or I have to apologize, that last time we have a great discussion, which I forgot to record. So, but this happened, and I apologize, but this is all what I can do. And I'm sure today's discussion will be interesting as well. And we have one more person to listen, and Bill knows him very well. And he is here, he is in my room, he is in Bill's rooms, he is everywhere. And this is my granddad who will listen today. And I'm sure it will be interesting discussion again. So Bill, last time we finished with the topic about money. Generally, we spoke about money and about the way how the money changed, how it is changing from the old days to new days that we have as a children, we have to work to have our coins. We can touch the money. We have to work for it. We can touch it. And we are right now losing our grip on the money because money become virtual. And it's much more difficult to get the feeling about money at the moment. And I use our discussion, and just a few days ago, I moved my granddad's library in my parents' house. And I find out what was very interesting, that it's not just the money who lose the weight, but even the books. Because if you have a 100 years old book with 100 pages, the weight is really significant. And if you compare it to today's 100 pages book, it's like feather. So it looks like that we are not losing only our abilities to recognize things, but we are losing through losing of the weight, which is being sold as an advantage. We are losing the connection to the real world. At least it looks like that. So what do you think about the weight topic, not only about money, but other things as well?
It's a good example, Michael, of change. One of the things that that we do when we work with clients is to help them to, we call it, envision the future. Because I come from a world of strategic planning, and so strategic planning was okay, the traditional approaches was okay 20 or 50 years ago, but it's absolutely inappropriate today, and in fact is even dangerous for companies to employ it. So we do this exercise called the future of, and we break down society into various components. One of the components is the money. And so then we'll talk for a session or two about money. And what got my attention is when we were talking about purpose, and my purpose, since my children are grown out of the house, contributing members of society and so on, is my grandchildren. And the thought that struck me was, how do I teach my grandson about money? It's not going to be the way that I learned about money. It's not going to be the way that their parents learned about money. By the way, can you see Noah?
Yes, I see him. Beautiful boy.
No, Noah, he's 18 months old. That was a few years ago. He just started first grade. But as a comparison, when I learned about money, I was mowing the grass or shoveling the snow off the walks for some of the neighbors. And my brother and I would go around on Friday afternoons and collect the money so that we're not knocking on people's doors at 6 o'clock in the morning. And so when I held the money in my hand, and it was a great feeling. I had maybe some paper money, I had some coins, And this meant something to me. And my father's rule was half goes in the bank and half you can do whatever you want with. And so if we fast forward now to 2022, and Noah does some chores around the house, maybe he washes the dishes or maybe he makes the beds, whatever. Does he get coins in his hand for doing that? How is that in a world of credit cards and virtual money? There's many different virtual money platforms. We use a couple of them, but then it gets into things like NFTs, non-fungible things you can't touch. In fact, they're virtual. It's a virtual picture of a whatever. And they say fewer than 20% of transactions these days are actually with cash or currency. And they also say that by the year 2040, we will not be printing currency anymore. Gone. So the question is, how do we teach money to a child growing up now? How do we think differently about money? And as a marketing person, I've always known that the further I can move a customer away from actually holding it in his hands. For example, if you go to a circus or the carnival, when you ride on the rides, they don't ask you for $1. When you walk in, they sell you tokens, right? We used to call that funny money because it's a step away from. So your mind no longer associates the value of holding it in your hands with the value of whatever you're trading it for. So we've learned how to separate people's minds from the value. And it continues to change. And this is just an example of so many things in life that are changing and changing faster. And in fact, I'm reminded of a quote from a friend of mine. She said, "The pace of change today is the slowest you're going to see for the rest of your life." So it's going faster and faster and faster. And it's not just the money or the cars or the whatever else that's changing. Our relationship to them is changing. So in the future, we will not own cars. We will own a mobility subscription. And so our mental relationship, our emotional relationship with each of these things is changing. And it's destabilizing in a society. And it brings up a whole bunch of questions, such as the ripple effects of having that change, and the ethics and the governance issues. And as a society, as a world, we are awful. We're terrible at anticipating the ethics questions of our new discoveries. So I love the question. I love talking about money and the future of money and the future of everything else. And little by little, if we talk about this enough, we will have that vision of the future, at least to some degree. If we talk about it enough, we will have a vision of the future that you can understand, not with precision. Don't ask me a date. There are no precision with visions of the future, but the trends and where the trends intersect and so
on. For me, as we spoke, generally it was quite interesting that when I moved to library, I never realized the difference between the weight of the old book and 30 years old book. But there is generally the weight is double, even more. And there is the oldest which I have found was 1886. And it's still in a such shape that you will say it was printed yesterday, because books for my granddad and his father has been unbelievable value. There has been not rich guys. So every single book was really a treasure, and they have treasures there. And not only the books, we then moved the library. The library was a piece of furniture about 100 years old. If it's IKEA, you will move it by yourself. Because it was 100 years old, I have a big difficulty to move it together with my dad, one floor up, because it was so heavy and so well made. And this is why I think I posted an article about it recently. But what I think that we should not allow anyone to disconnect us from the power of touch, because the weight is touch. And I just have a discussion with Rotary Club a few minutes ago, and generally we came to one interesting point, that our eyes are covered with displays. More time we spend on displays than looking at the world. Many people have a plug-ins, the earphones in the ear, so they generally eliminated the ears. Our tongue is beaten down by the artificial flavors of food which is artificially made. Our nose was for 2 years covered with a face mask. So the only sense which remains is the power of touch. What is great about it, that all the skin has the ability to recognize the power of touch. It's not just the fingers or the palm, but all the skin. And this is the last sense which we are having and which is connecting us to human being, to humanity. And we shouldn't let anyone to rape us from this. But the same, we should unplug our ears, uncover our eyes, eat apple which I pick from a tree, not from a chain store, and enjoy the smell, even if it's not nice. It's a smell of nature, usually. But let's use this power of touch, which we use for a long time in Industry 5.0. Let's use it really, and don't let anyone to steal this last sense from us, because then the answer to your question, what will be, it will be not nice, what will come. Because if we are senseless completely, we will be humanless as well. We will not care what happened. You know, with the war in Ukraine, a lot of things happening that they are streaming how a bomb strike a tank, if it's Russian or I saw one, then I stopped watching anything, because I do understand it's occupants and they shouldn't be there. I do understand. But in the tank, I see a human being frequently forced to sit in the tank. And for me, it's not Russian or whatever, it's a human, and it should remain human. And as I said, many are forced to be there. Few enjoy it, but unfortunately, they do not have the will to turn around, because it's dangerous. They will be killed by their own officers. So, and I know in the morning, I have a great discussion with one of the ambassadors who was in a war and who has this syndrome after war. I don't know how it's called generally, this syndrome of a soldier, which really destroy your mind and keep you down and so on. So, and he said, Michael, you cannot erase it. Once you've been there, it is there. You can take how many pills you want, but it is there. You have killed someone. You have seen someone to be killed, and it's really not the way. So let us. In some countries, as I do remember, I think it was Austria, I'm not sure. So they legalize, and I think it was legalized, I'm not sure, the right on physical money generally. So that they cannot switch completely to digital one. I don't know how it's called, write for cash, I think, write for cash. I'm not sure about. So let's follow it and help this to happen, because if we have a physical things which we will be able to touch, we shouldn't forget, and we will wake up the other senses as well.
Your example of a soldier being in war and unable to erase that, here we call it post-traumatic stress syndrome. And to me, as you're describing it, to me, that's another sense that has become blunted or blurred, because we no longer can participate in the world or engage with the world at the level that we used to be able to. And again, just another form of waste, another form of waste. So, when you and I first started talking a year ago, I thought I knew what waste was. The more we talked, the more I realized that I never did then, and I'm not a whole lot closer now. But it's a very complex, many layers of understanding.
I have the same feeling. Every single day, I discover some other connection, something which really opened the eyes. And even I am in there, and it's my living. Every single day, it's like going in the woods and looking at the what's new there, and it is exactly the same. This is why I do not wonder that waste industry becomes so powerful, because they concentrated only on one thing. They put everything, they call it waste, and waste for them is money. And this is why they make everything possible to have more waste, because it will be more money for them. But I am happy you said that, because I have exactly the same feeling about it. And if we name it properly, the people will understand. And this is even more important, that they do understand how to recognize it, how to work with it, and how to prevent it happen. Because no matter about which ways we speak, everything is here. It's stored here, and it's not in our pockets or in our bank account. And this is why it is so important.
One of the topics that you have spoken about recently, or maybe for a while, but you continue to take leaders to task for not doing a whole bunch of things, but one of them is the climate. We've had so many meetings by the UN, by so many organizations. And if you Google on environmental organizations, there are hundreds, probably worldwide, there are thousands of organizations. And when I looked at the ones in America, 80% are headquartered in Washington, D.C., which should tell us something. They see the road to correcting this, or if in fact their intentions are valid in the first place, but they see the way to correcting it as by using the politicians. And you have been saying, at least recently, that the way to resolve this or to make it better is not through the leaders, because they've had too many opportunities, but rather it's to use organizations like your ambassadors to lead the charge. And once you and your ambassadors start to do that, the leaders of the world will come behind you. They'll see the parade is leaving, and they'll run very quickly to get to the head of the parade again. So that's probably the biggest reason why I enjoy the vision that you have of a wasteless world, is because I think it's possible. I think it's possible through through all the people, not through the leaders.
Generally, I am not good in math. I was never good in math. And as we talked with my granddad, he said, Michael, I have learned a lot of in the school. It was before the end of the War II. And he said, I use only three things: adding, dividing, and some percentage. That's all what I need in 100 years of my life, what I need from the math. So I am very similar to him, but generally, even this discounting what you just named, it's a very simple topic. There are, let's say, 100,000 politicians in the world, and the leaders, how they call themselves. But there are 7.970 billion people. So who has better force? Who has bigger force to deliver the change? The 100,000? Not at all. The other. The only difference is that the others are, let's say, they do not know that they have this power. They feel like I am only Mike Rada and what I can do. This is what I hear frequently in the schools. You are Mike Rada, but I am just a student. Just yesterday, I have a great topic for our discussion for Indian school, and one of the question was, which I asked the other girl was, who do you think is responsible for your future? And she was thinking and saying maybe president or maybe some politicians. I said no. It's a person who you meet every single day. Just look in the mirror. And she started to smile. And that was the response which opened her eyes. And it was her own general response. I do not have to push her, but the politicians, if you look at them, they push the changes through money, through the political will. Right, few hours ago, I have learned that the new British Prime Minister generally, who firstly decided not to go to Egypt, COP27, decided to go there finally because of being pushed or whatever. And I read so many comments about it. And I asked at the end, I asked every single one who is pushing or pulling or saying it's wrong or right. I said, what do you think is this conference about? It's not about change. It's a travel circus. I call it travel circus, which is running for 27 years without delivering any results. The only result will be the next circus. So it has no meaning whether he is there or not. The change will be if he, as a prime minister, implement the change. That will be the change. And he has the tool from industry. If I know he has the waste prevention legislation, which he can put on a table the next day. But going to Egypt will not change anything. And you just spoke that there are about thousands of those. I checked once a few years ago how many non-profit organizations are in Czech Republic since this non-profit, let's call it business, started. In my country, which 10 million citizens, it's more than one. I do not want to be wrong, but I think about 100,000, unbelievable number of organizations which are non-profits. The number was so huge that I was so surprised. I never expected it. I expected 100,000. Maybe 1,000, and that will be already a big number. But it was so surprising for me. And what was at the end even more surprising, not a single one tried to be non-profit after they successfully. So try to not to be dependent on other people's money. Not a single one, because if you get used to be managed by someone or get money from someone, you get used to it. So simple it is. So I am happy that it resonates with you. And in a factory, it's the same. 1,000 workers and 3 managers. Who deliver more change? If the managers will be ill, nobody will even notice. If the line leader will be ill, everybody will get crazy because the factory will stop working. And this is the difference. We just make it virtually the position more important, but in fact, we just put the title to be more important, but in fact, it is not. It's a drop of importance of the line leader or the worker on the line, because he or she is really much more important than the leader himself or herself.
So the importance then of the leader is the mission of the leader is to develop or install the culture that is so seductive that it allows the employees to fully engage around common goals. And having said that, it's huge. So few leaders actually do that. I've worked in industry for almost 50 years, and the number of leaders who do that, of the probably 100 or 200 leaders that I have worked with, I can count the number of leaders who provide that culture on one hand. I suspect that the percentage is even lower among politicians, but that may be just a bias of mine. But I see so little good culture being developed.
What I think that generally we teach how to be a leader, but what I am missing to teach how to be a role model. Because a leader without being a role model is just a title. And they are so frequently used that generally is the same like out-of-box thinker. You don't even see the box. How do you know that you are looking outside of the box? And with the leaders is generally very similar. At the moment, every second is leader. But the people do not want to be the role models of the change, because the role model is hard job. Leader seems to be easy. You just lead, you just give. Leader and manager in my country, leader and managers are put in the same box generally for a long time. Just now they are slightly dividing this. But the fact that you will be the first one in your office, that you will deliver the work before you ask others to deliver, just to show that it is possible, that's hard work. That's hard work. And this is what the people do not like so much, you know. A lot of people prefer to stay in the background, to watch the others to work. And there are so many examples. And with the politicians, I do fully agree. I do not remember any politician except of Václav Havel, our first Czech president after the Velvet Revolution, who was generally not there. For me, I know he make a lot of wrong decisions. But for me, the key why I respect him as a president was that he never lost his humanity. He was human. He was not perfect. He never tried to be a politician. He just tried to remain human. And humans make mistakes. That's fine. The politicians can make mistakes. I am not angry about it. I do it as well. But the leaders seems to be that they are not ready to, in Japan, they will call it to lose their face because doing something wrong.
A friend of mine recently said that you can get a quick understanding of the culture of a company or of an organization by first studying how they treat failure. So if that goes back to the Toyota story, which is a book from 40 years ago or something. And the more I've thought about that sentence, the more I agree with it.
It is so. And the fail is one of the wastes. So we are coming back again to the same topic.
I'm not sure failure is always a waste, though, is it? Because if I learn from failure, and if I am energized to go out and try again, because the culture of the company applauds my recognizing that it could have been better, and encourages me to go out and try again, then that's not a waste.
You touch exactly the point what we have the discussion about fear. Fear
Yes.
in many aspects is waste, but as well it can help us to avoid some dangers or to overcome something and so on. This is why it's like a coin with both sides. And this will be the same. So the failure, if we learn from it, and we have to learn from the fails of the history, but we should not cover them. This is the biggest mistake generally. What in the last years, you remember how they tear down the statues, and right now they paint the old paintings with a color or soup or whatever. I will let every single one to pay for this painting, because they created much bigger damage. What I say about, you mentioned the climate groups. What I say to all the people when I meet them, you cannot change the climate. Simply, you cannot. Human cannot change the climate. So why to have conferences and books and speaking about it? We cannot change the climate because we are living too short to change the climate. But what we can do, we can change our impact on the planet, which will have an impact on the climate from a long-term perspective. But the first one is not the climate, is us. And I will show you what I have found in one of the granddad's boxes. Next Nokia. And generally,
I had one of those.
So this is younger than this one, so 3 years younger. I didn't know about it, and still working. It was in the box and still working. So I asked my mom to take it with me, and she does not use it. So, and it's so I have 2 phones in here already, which I hope one day I will use again. But coming back to the topic, so you are absolutely right, and I think that we really should teach the grandchildren to value the weight of items, no matter whether we speak about book, whether we speak about money, but to do so, the money should exist. The books should exist, not only in a digital form. And this is why we are getting back to the roots. We should not really let anyone eliminate the roots by eliminating the connection to our touch. And that will be one of the discussion on the of Industry 5.0, and for sure I will discuss it many times from now on.
Fascinating. Again, the understanding of waste, my understanding of waste. The one thing that you mentioned I wanted to circle back to was, why do leaders not lead? And I'm wondering if I know with some people, they don't want to tell other people what to do. People are hesitant to give advice. People, so in fact, I had a friend who every time I would use the word should, we should do that, they should do that, he stopped me and said, don't use the word should, because that shows that you are judging, and you cannot judge. And I disagree with that, because for myself, maybe I can't judge Michael Rada, but for myself to do something, maybe to, if you do it, I do it too. So that could be wrong. That may be wrong in certain circumstances. So I should not do that, but I can't tell you what you should or shouldn't do. However, if I am a role model, then I will do what I think I should do. And if you are impressed, then perhaps you will do it too. So I think role model, maybe we should, maybe I use the word should, maybe it would be beneficial for our Wasteless World movement that you are developing to use the words role model, whether they be in politics or they be at a company, or but to be a role model. We don't emphasize that. Parents don't emphasize that with their kids, I don't think, as much as we used to, I think, to be a role model.
And generally, the children are seeing us as a role model. If you want or not, they see us as a role model. So it is very important to be the right role model. You know, just now Elon Musk bought Twitter. Great. He is a role model. He fired everyone. He will fire the rest because it's his new toy. And then it will disappear like all the toys which he do not like and he was not successful in. It just go away. And how we generally change the content of the word role model. We change it for rich. We change it for influential.
I say we change it for the culture of more. More. What do you want out of life? More.
That's exactly.
More.
Yes. I use the same hunting for more. That's what I used to say, and that's wrong. But unfortunately, this hunting for more become the role model principle. And that's what we have to erase and eliminate to really get back to the right role models, to the people and to the understanding of humans, humanity, and similar. We have 1 minute 24 to end.
I'm at a loss as to how to summarize this conversation.
I think the same way, like we did every single time, because everybody should stay human and everybody should have a great time, free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe and free, because this is the only way.
Thank you, Michael. I hope you have a good week.
Same to you. Do you want to spend the 10 minutes of the rest on Google, or do we finish today?
I would look forward to talking with you again next Wednesday.
We do it. Thanks a lot and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.